Okay. Hi, Laura Rose Gage. You there? We should be live.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, pretty sure we are live. Yeah. All right. So, Connor got a wild hair and wanted to go live for New Year's. At least on the East Coast. Who knows what'll happen, right? But I thought this would be fun, to talk about what New Year's is all about, what intention is all about, what it means to set intentions, and why we would do something like that in the first place. Why do people do that, Laura? Tell me.
Why do people set intentions?
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking about this because do you remember what the virtue of the heart is in Chinese medicine?
No.
I meant to look up the Chinese name of it, but it's translated to ritual.
Really?
Yes. So
Ritual
most
is
people,
probably a really hard word to translate.
it is. It's
Um,
kind of a complicated translation. So it's like some people translate it as um, ceremony or integrity. But
See what that's a totally like I could see moving from ritual to ceremony. Um, integrity, now you're in a field of words and concepts that have to really stretch in order to see this fill the space between them. I don't
uh-huh.
know what ritual and ceremony immediately has to do with integrity other than uh like they share. It's funny, it's another int word, is intentional, and intentionality. um that's weird. Yeah.
I
I
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think about it in terms of the culture that Chinese medicine comes out of, and the to me, the idea of ritual is more about orientation, actually. Like, I think it is about ceremony integrity. The reason why it's translated in all these different ways is I feel that, like, in Chinese medicine and Chinese culture, they would have something to say about where our place is in terms of ancestors and where you're going and what your life is, and being human is being between heaven and earth. And I think when you look at the Chinese word, I have always interpreted it more as orientation than ritual.
Well, that's a big thing.
But
So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that it gets to what people do in the new year, which is, I think sometimes the drive and the feeling for people is to recapture something. Think about what happens with New Year's and resolutions.
What is that? What are they recapturing?
You have this point of reflection. You go in the darkest night of the year and you have a point of reflection about what's important and what's not important. And then you go into a new year with intentions. And you know how I feel about intentionality. Like, I think sometimes we're not always conscious or fully aware of how important it is to have intentionality with certain things. So I think even people can go through the motions with New Year's resolutions. They can say, oh, it's probably a good idea to do this. and they don't really take the time to have an honest, heartfelt, in the heart reflection on something they want to bring forward in their life.
See, I think I think what we're getting at is life force, what you would call life force, or something like that, right? Some sort of principle that wants to see itself expressed in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Uh, that's a funny question, right? It kind of gets at what we were just talking about on the phone, Laura, which is uh, desire and allowing ourselves to want what we want. And it's funny how these New Year's resolutions are, in some sense, kind of like a fallacy. It's kind of like a an emergent thing that comes from goal culture. Like a goal, as if a goal is something which you can set or write down independent of what, like it's a thing, when what actually all a goal is expressive of. And I think this is important. You can set goals and participate in goal setting culture and all this kind of stuff, knowing that all we are doing is explicating our wants and desires, and understanding that those are fluid things, right? This is like what you and I talk about doing an It Works list.
Mm-hmm.
It Works is one of the best-selling New Thought books ever published, and um, it just says write down what you want. Just write down what you want, and write down what you want as many times as you like.
Yeah.
Read it 3 times a day.
And we,
Uh, you know,
yeah. Mm.
and change it. One of my favorite things about It Works is it says, "Hey, feel free to change this list as many times as you want." It kind of even implies a little bit of the Abraham Esther Hicks, like you'll never get it done, and yeah. Um, so God is the answer. Why do we set goals? God. What is it that's trying to be expressed through us? God. What is it what is it in each of us that wants what it wants, and like has, you know wants to read this many books for in 2025, or do this many XYZs in 2025. Those are all like well defined, kind of criterion based specific things, which is actually perfectly fine. Where we kind of biff this ritual of goal setting is in mistaking um, the the trees for the forest in this way, when it comes to the relationship between desire and like a thing in the world that we are after. What we're after is more, and the desire can be written in any. I can write 10 things that I want out of one thing, like one manifestation, right? Or 10 different feelings that I would feel when one manifestation is present in my experience. Do you get what I'm getting at? I know you do. What do you think?
Um, I think it's really interesting because we've had a fun relationship with productivity and goals and things like that. And I find that when you're talking, I'm listening to the kind of the question that you want to sit down with, which is this a means to an end, or is it actually the end that you're reaching
Right.
for? So it makes me think about I can't remember the goal setting thing. I've consumed so much productivity stuff in my lifetime. I think it's telling that as someone who doesn't set yearly resolutions or goals anymore, that I
Mhm.
have read so many books on it. And
What
I
so what do you do though, Laura? There is something in this department that you do.
I do things, yes.
Yes, you
Well,
do.
that's I guess that's what I'm kind of getting to is like there's this idea, so I'm just gonna like give an example of, some people have these goals in life where they say things like, I'm gonna graduate law school. And that's like what they say their goal is. But hidden beneath that, there's actually a meaning and a deeper thing about that goal. Like for some people, it's like, I'm going to graduate from law school and then my father will finally be proud of me. That was
Right,
actually the goal.
right,
But they took a process and they
right,
married it to that, right?
right.
And so I encourage people to think about these things when they have goals. Like, what is the purpose for you of having 25 books in 2025, And to that end, I think this is the reason why for the past 4 or 5 years, I just have a word for the year.
Yeah.
And the goal of that word is just to explore what that means in my life.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's a earnest, open-hearted invitation to have God and life and everything flow through me to show
Right.
me what that word means. And I would say that since I started doing that and had it be so open-ended, I the vast majority of the time by the end of the year, I'm like, shit, I understand this word now way more than I ever wanted to. And I didn't realize that we could go this deep into this word. Um, and sometimes that has been heartbreaking, and I mean that in a really good way. I actually think if something kind of breaks my heart to a certain level, I've gotten to an understanding in this human life of something on almost a divine level. If I have that feeling of this kind of has broken open my heart in a particular way. So,
Hmm.
and
Why would
I've
that,
been,
why would that be the case?
because for
What is
me,
it
the
about? What
way,
is it about? What it is a? What do you mean by that?
well, for some reason, I realized today that nearly every single word that I've chosen over the past few years is related to the heart in some way. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely, hands down,
Yeah,
including
that's
this
right.
year's
Actually,
word,
yeah.
like every single word.
Yeah, that's actually, I know your words, and actually, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I would be the first to say that I think 3 years ago now, my word was joy. And by
Hmm.
the end of that year, I feel like I had had some of the deepest sorrow that I had ever felt. Some of the deepest sorrow that I had ever felt. And because joy had been my word that year,
Hmm.
I felt such extreme sorrow that it went to the other side and it went into joy. And I went, oh. And I actually got a little angry because I was like, God, source, big love, universe, I get it now. And I was like, and I'm a little upset that I kind of like had to, I love life, feel something in such extremity that I could see the joy in it. Like I could go, oh, life is joy. Like by the end of that year, I was so like, life is joy. Just existence is joy. Like I got it on a level that on a depthness that I didn't think, like in a 4D type of way. I went, Oh, okay. I got you. And so that's why I choose words now. Almost jokingly go, bring it on, let's do it. I mean, yeah.
Hmm. It's like when our prayer was, okay, God, show me how good it can get,
Mhm.
and everything falls apart.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know the mechanism of that, and I'm I assume because of the nature of consciousness that the cat is made its home scratching my pile of clothes. Uh, I wanted there not to be cat fur on that pile. So anyway, uh, I don't know why it is the case. You and I have mused a lot about things like what we call the upper limit problem,
Mhm.
or I forget the other words for that, but hmm, sort of, in this case, some sort of manifestational cosmic self sabotage, some sort of subconscious self sabotage that happens at some level
Mhm.
where it's ironic though, because knowing how good it can get, going through this like thunderstorm of this whirlwind of stuff after this sincere fervent prayer, God, show me how good it can get. um you're you're on the one hand, yes, it's contrast, and on the other, you when the clouds part and the sun shines, um there's this whisper that reminds you that the only means by which any of this ever need operate ever in your life is through an attitude of trust. So one of my criteria for manifestation, is like, you look back on it and you can sincerely say to yourself, "Oh yeah, this was only ever just a matter of my trusting. My ability to trust was the only thing that ever was any kind of ingredient in bringing this thing about."
Mm. Yeah,
So
I think
yeah,
mentioning manifestation is so important because I think in many time ways when we're doing resolutions or goals for the next year, we're really engaging in something adjacent or are engaging in manifestation.
when we do what? Say that again.
When we set goals or we do resolutions, it's such a funny thing, Connor, because I don't
Yeah,
really
for
do
sure.
any resolutions for New Year's because my birthday is in December. So I do all my stuff for my
Mhm.
birthday. I don't do it for New Year's. Um,
Right.
but I think
You have a 10-day birthday portal that you
my
do to.
10-day birthday portal right up to the solstice is what's like perfect.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I I think actually the number one thing that I've learned about this whole process, and I want to just like being live and whoever is here, just saying, I think one of the most important things, if you're going to be practical and say, I'm going to do resolutions or goals, is something that actually most of these people talk about, but I think we forget in the process because we want something to stay solid and commit to something and have it be the way that it is. And this is what I'm doing. Nearly every single productivity guru, goal setting person says, and change it. Like none of those
Right.
people ever says, don't dance with it and flow with it and recognize
So if
your
that's
life
the
is presenting something different, you know?
if that's the case, then what are we even doing? So right, so is it not then the thing that we're participating in is really just an act of communication with ourselves and say with the world, if that's the case, if we share our goals and stuff like that. But let's say you write your 2025 goals on a sheet of paper. Who are you talking to? And especially if it's something that you believe is valuable to change, because I agree completely. That's certainly mine and your style and approach to manifestation and desire, these kinds of things. And at the same time, if we're just writing it down, like really, I mean, really, like having it works list really is kind of coming up again for me. It's like, and don't just your it works list is just what you want. And when you have a new desire, add it to that list. When you want to change a certain desire, the way that you would write it, erase it and write it differently. And so what is that? What are you doing then? I mean, like in It Works, it says to read it morning, noon, and night. I mean, yes. Why though? Is the psychology that I am imposing upon my mind these parameter, I'm like scaffolding in my awareness of self to say, oh wait, that's right, I told myself I really wanted this thing. I mean, in some sense yes. But again, if what we're grasping at is the solidity of the experience of the thing in time,
Mhm.
then uh then I can zoom out a little bit and I can say, oh, even all your manifestation people out there, it's no, actually, it's not so much about uh holding on to this thing for dear life. What I would, as I said in my interview with Lee Warren the other day, what I'm holding on to for dear life is the thing which cannot be held on to. It's the
Mm.
actual source of the thing in me which wants in the first place, of the thing in me which from which this desire springs. Like I want to honor that. I want to honor the place in me which has this upwelling of desire for the world, which is so antithetical to plenty of interpretations of Eastern philosophy and Buddhism and all that kind of stuff. So, because what's interesting though is that it is, if you're taking that as an injunction to grab after the thing. What we are saying is that actually it's actually not antithetical to these Eastern approaches, because we're saying yes, honor that, and at the same time, what you're honoring is the place from which it comes. You're honoring your the sheer ability of you to do that with yourself in your life and with your life in yourself. To have desires and to want things. So write it down in as clear language as you can think of, and then be ready to burn it in the next moment, because it's and then write it again and be ready to burn that too. Because again, this is what a lot of people say, and I it's one of the things I've been playing with, and I think the intersection of these two is a kind of trust. It's kind of, like you said, four-dimensional, your fourth dimensional perspective on selfhood. Let's just say that again, what we're doing is sitting somewhere in the balance between burning desire and detachment. So how's that for an intention about intentionality moving
Well,
into 2025?
yeah,
Yes.
to me, what seems so clear to me from what you're saying and what the takeaway is that times like the new year or your birthday or whenever people choose to do these reflections, like the solstice, some people do that on the solstice.
Mhm.
To me, it sounds like bringing desires into the light, like not having it just be something that is silent in your head,
Right.
but saying that actually what I desire is important,
Mhm.
which is so different. And this is pertains to a conversation we had earlier today. Then sometimes the goals that you hear and the intentions people have for their years that really include a lot of conditionality. Like I should do this because it's
Mhm.
good for me, or a a an aspect of conditionality versus a celebration of existence, which would be pursuing a desire. Knowing
Mhm.
that in the pursuit of that desire will change, and you may find out, actually, this isn't what I wanted, and
Mhm.
then have so much more clarity about what you do want.
Mhm.
But you're never going to get to that point unless you actually pursue it. Um, and I think, I think what I struggle with in our goal setting culture and our New Year's resolution culture is that the current culture talks like there's a conditionality to getting what you want. Because so many New Year's resolutions and goals for your life are, I will be able to get these particular things when I've done this, this, and this. So when you and I are talking about desires or intentionalities, there's not like a, I'm going to pursue this because I know out of it I'll become a better person and then I will have happiness. Like to me, that's like, that's not how this works. Whereas I
But
think
what if your modification of that statement was actually really simple? Let's take that same language. What was it? I want this because out of this I will become a better person and have happiness.
Mhm.
Through my well, okay, I was gonna modify it simply. I'm not gonna do that. There's no way in hell. Through my relationship with my own through my relationship with the things that I find myself wanting in life, I am touching on the source of reality. And through my relationship with that, I will discover, obviously, right, that happiness is not an objective. Happiness is attending to what's present. Happiness is happiness is something which is readily available to me. So um, that's a cosmology. That's a cosmology, a cosmological kind of it says a lot. It's saying a lot to believe that uh, this has been really present in my conversations lately, having to do with um, the relationship between God's will and your mundane human desires. Without sounding like a Satanist, frankly. And I'm gonna say that in a really, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
not, I don't denigrate anyone's religious thing. So I mean, well, frankly, I suppose I shouldn't say that because I wouldn't say that about, well, no, I would say, I would actually, never mind. Without sounding like I am, let me be more clear. Without sounding like I am uh glorifying hedonism.
Mm.
Because what I intend to do is I intend to sift through the things, sift, I don't know, to by trusting the things that arise in me, my body is moved. I am literally moved along a bridge of incidents. Sometimes those things even feel contradictory to the things that I think that I want. But in those moments, life is so obviously kicking me along this path that I don't have, it's like, okay, okay, God, okay, life. And so it's a big cosmological statement to say that through, again, because just like I said, I don't want to sound like a Satanist. Well, at the same time, I don't want to sound like like certain flavors of denominations of evangelical Protestants that I know either. Remember the guy in the parking lot in North Carolina, Laura, that said, you want to, God is no respecter of persons. This is a thing that's commonly brought up. And in doing so, you want to make sure that you're worshiping the God of, not the God of your imagination,
Mhm.
right? And uh, the religion of the heart, to my mind, is taking that impulse, taking the Protestant impulse of saying, look, I don't need a mediator between me and God. The Protestant impulse of saying, I don't need a mediator between me and God. That this can be on the one hand, a religion. And on the other hand, I don't, there's nothing separating me from my creator and the creator of everything in any moment. So, uh, that's a big perspective on what desire is and how to be, the topic of this was intentionality, ceremoniality, and silence. Uh, yeah, I think intentionality is just the pivot, just cosmology and practice, and saying I get to choose what I believe, and I get to choose my cosmology. Therefore, I get to choose what world I live in. Ceremoniality is just presence it's just presence, right? I mean, we started this conversation about ritual and the word for the heart and all this, and um uh I think we overcomplicate it.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I love that you said that you have this thing about silence. Like when you said it, I was like, okay. And but I think that so often we come into this season of intentionality and things like that with actually a lot of mental chatter. And part of the process that you're talking about right now is taking the moment to be in stillness and wait for what arises, even if that takes a little bit longer than you would like it to feel it bubble up, and then to view that without judgment, what it is, and sit with it and feel the space. I think this is like totally the influence of open focus that we've been doing so much lately,
Yeah.
but feeling like imagining the space between yourself and that thing that comes up and really just reveling in it. I think this is It's kind of fun actually to sit and talk about this because I'm like, oh, I'm seeing the impact of Laura's year of joy because
Yeah.
my first instinct was say, and just enjoy it for what
Right.
it is. But um
Yeah.
and I even recognize in myself that those words for me come out of, I'm not always happy about what words come forward. I can actually be quite cranky about it. And it's not always super pure kind of place where I tackle these words always.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
choosing
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah,
joy
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
for a word when I felt like I was struggling with being that way all the time isn't
Mhm.
always the best feeling. But
Well, I mean,
following,
it's good for it to have an edge to it, is it not? You know?
yes.
And
It
and
might,
and why would that be the case? Why would that be the case? Because we're not like flagellating ourselves. Like you got to suffer a little bit. Don't you know that life is drawing blood from stone? And don't you know that? No. So yeah.
well, and I think, I mean, I think I feel that way about my word this year too. I actually don't think there's been a single word that I haven't been like, really? About.
Yeah.
And with a full knowing that it did bubble up. It did sit there. It kept coming up. It kept knocking on the door. It kept
Yeah.
saying, hey, Laura, you don't get to say no on this one.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah,
We have 5 minutes until New Year's on the East Coast.
let's have silence.
Will you lead us into that silence?
Yes.
I'm happy to do it.
Well, I don't, did you have something in mind?
I can do it fast, man. We'll do it quick, fast, in a hurry. Unless you want to. Last chance. What do you think? You want to do it or me?
I think I would like you to do it.
Okay. Here we go. Let's take a moment. Let's wiggle our butts a little bit. Wiggle butt. Let's wiggle our butts into wherever we find ourselves, into the chair, and let's be present with the moment
Hmm.
and all that it entails. It has breath. There are sounds. There is space around you. I'm going to count from 10 to 1. And when I get to 1, let's just play and experiment with whatever goodness your subconscious mind has in store for you, whatever good feeling and learning and knowing and truth that's possible to receive in this moment. No big deal, no flashy hypnotic suggestions or anything like that. Let's just be present with good feeling possibility when I get to 1. Just opening. 10, 9, 8, feeling ourselves open. 7, feeling the space around you. 6, feeling the space inside of you. All of the space that your body takes up. 5, feeling the space around you and the space inside of you blend. It's one space. 4, stretching that space out to encompass, oh, why not? The whole planet. 3, can you feel how excited everyone is? 2, can you feel that thing in them which moves? That thing that desires good feeling, all the good things, love, hope, faith, happiness, joy, abundance, success, smiles, hugs, fun. 1, now what do you want? Your heart knows. And can you have it? Is that okay? Or is that more than okay? Tootsie says it's okay. I'm going to count us up. Present with this space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Laura was eyes open. Oh, look at that. How was that?
I really love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that was ideal. Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
Are there fireworks going off where you are? No. Well, I'm in Texas. We've got 1 hour till midnight here. Fireworks are definitely going off. I'm excited. New Year's is my favorite holiday. And I wish in where we lived here we celebrated Lunar New Year. Um, I love the shared energy of that thing in us which moves, of presence with what of the flow of life through time and its movement, and the way that that movement looks like some kind of evolutionary movement towards an understanding of ourselves as, here, wisdom. I love New Year's. I love New Year's for that reason. uh Thank you, Laura Rose Gage. Are you having barking dogs? Is that what's happening? Yeah. Oh.
Okay, Beaver. Thank you.
Oh. What is it? Is it the fireworks? Or you said no fireworks?
It's another dog. It's too early here.
Yeah, you're right. You said that.
Yeah, but he likes to bark.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, he does.
I agree with you. I am actually inspired by your love of New Year's. I think I usually don't like it as much. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But I the meditation got me into this space that I get into around like Christmas. And I think it's just because there's so many fun rituals in my life around that. And so that's the space I get.
Right. 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 What kind of New Year's? What do you mean? I mean, I know of the New Year's ritual of like resolutions and fireworks and stuff. Are you just appreciating that it's a very different kind of a holiday that has its own things?
I'm actually kind of appreciating that I feel like the expansive feeling around it is the same that I have around Yule slash Christmas slash solstice.
Okay,
Like,
interesting. Yeah.
and so I think like to me, there's this like laughing and giggling and like we're in the darkest part of the year. Even New Year's is like this, right? Like it's
Right.
snowing
Right.
here and
Yeah.
stuff. Like fireworks are even extra special
Let me
here,
let me
in my
let me
opinion.
let me be clear. It could be any holiday at any time of year. And if there were a single moment that everyone was attuned to, a change happening and a surge of energy at the same moment on our shared map of like consensus reality time space stuff, like time. Uh I don't care. It could be, 6 p.m. on, you know, May the 4th
We talk
or
like a
something.
pirate day.
Uh,
It could be talk like a pirate day.
it could be Talk Like a Pirate Day. But if we all either at midnight or noon, or it's that there's a singular, it's the same reason why people love sports, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so much attention and concentration on a singular object. But the difference between this and sports is that there's no opposing team. There's the entropy of time and all that crap and all our silly beliefs about age and entropy and decay and the world being an awful place, but we really just want to have fun, and we really just want to set those beliefs aside for a moment and give ourselves permission to blow some shit up in the sky and enjoy that
It's
moment.
a
Yeah.
collective, even on a bigger scale, like idea of new day tomorrow.
New day tomorrow.
I mean, but it's like
New
on a
day tomorrow.
grander scale, and I think that it's a little bit of a collective. Okay, yep.
That is a Laura Rose Connor inside joke and a Joe Dispenza reference, and he goes, new day tomorrow, new day tomorrow. Yeah, it's that you kind of got is new day tomorrow. Uh
But I mean, New Year's Eve is a grand new
yeah,
day tomorrow. I'm just saying.
yes, it is. That's exactly right. Literally, New Year tomorrow.
Yeah.
Literally. That's good, dude. That's so good. Uh, that's
Or
so
new day now, everybody on the East
new
Coast.
moment. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when we talk about intentionality and ceremoniality, the thing that I want is presence.
Hmm.
I think from presence emerges a relationship with those things: intentionality, ceremony,
Hmm.
and all those things. Like presence with not just what is, but what is fourth dimensionally speaking, what is in the fullness of time, and where all that deliciousness emerges from. How could that even ever be the case? That we feel that thing and that we have these conversations about, quantum ideal self expression, whatever that means. It's the heart and soul. It's we uh there's something going on here that is trying to express itself through in and through our lives, that if we would stop white knuckling the wheel and taking it so seriously, that we could feel, is so effortlessly and easily just trying to eke its way into our awareness, such that our awareness admits of it as awareness itself. Like, oh, wait, oh, wait, oh, wait, oh, now, now, now. So you have the self reflexive property of something that just wants to be and to see itself as that, and to
Hmm.
be being, to be
Hmm.
being.
Hmm.
And right at the heart of that is this is where the non-dual philosophy that you and I talk about is maybe a little different from some interpretations of this, that at the heart of that there is some teleological unfolding. There's some purposeful, purposive uh, energy. Like it's not just nihilistic. It's not just moot expression. It's self-expression. So want things, making it works list. What do you think, Laura Rose? Any closing thoughts? What's going through that noggin of yours?
I'm just feeling like, yes, exactly. And and what arose for me while you were speaking was just the idea of trusting our heartfelt feelings, that come up in the silence like that. Like when you have the opportunity to do a kind of open meditation where you just get to sit with yourself and trusting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy, isn't it?
It's easy and I don't know. That's fun. look, dude, I will share now that my word for this year is courage. So I have like feelings about this because I think one, I don't think courage is the absence of fear. And I like have come to this really beautiful, joyful understanding that there's this edge of uncomfortability in being human that takes courage. And it takes courage to trust and
Mm-hmm.
and all sorts of little things like that.
Mm-hmm. And isn't that the pivot, the spiritual pivot, the spine, the cosmology in practice, choosing the one choice? Isn't that, I just use a lot of Laura Connor philosophical verbiage, life in the heart. This is Life in the Heart Ministries, and part of how we frame this message that I talked about this in my conversation with Catherine Domstetter. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description. Lee Warren, my conversation with Lee Warren, and my conversation with Catherine Domstetter, and that is to say that the sheerest, purest, most rad like use of what we call free will
Mm.
is finding the right angle in that hall of mirrors so that you get the infinity mirror effect, and you have to like kind of stop in your tracks, and you're like, oh, wait a second, I can see down to infinity that it's just me, it's just reflections of me. Well, what do I do with that? Oh, it's me. I'm the one having this experience. I'm the one looking down. I'm the so what? What? It doesn't stop there. To find the right angle there, you then like in some ways realizing you're kind of like at the center of the world and alone. It
Mhm.
takes a kind of choice, a kind of like I'm ringing, like it takes a kind of like pivot towards something with that's expressive of that's expressive on purpose in order to not get lost in that hall of mirrors, uh, in the form of nihilism or existentialism, or just depression or suicidal depression, or just anything like that sees that can see that recursiveness all the way down to infinity as like anything other than a miracle for its own for the opportunity to see that as what's actually going on here. Does that make sense? So I've been playing with that metaphor that like once you realize you're in a hall of mirrors and you find that angle that reminds you that it's just you to infinity. I can't help but wonder, like, okay, who put you there? And however you want it, that's a theological question, right? However you want to frame that, it's a theological question. That's okay. That's okay. In some sense, even that can be, uh, well, that's problematic, but you know what I mean?
I do. And I think mm, I think what I'm saying is when I say having courage, I also mean, and you will delight in this, Connor, it means having a spine. And that it's like having the courage to not let your mind take over, to really trust your heart and trust that first spark of delight you feel when you see yourself repeated in that infinity mirror. To say, I don't need to go all that much further than what's in front of me right now, and I trust the rest.
Right. Exactly.
And coming into a new year with the open-heartedness of open me even more and let it flow. Just
Mhm.
like let it happen. Let's do this, you know? And I think that
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
no matter what you choose to do with the ritual and the ceremony around it, all of those things, the point for most people is to open me even more to this life and let it happen.
I think in order to do that, it takes a cosmology. You have to believe that life is something worth trusting.
I agree. And that will always be our primary tenet. And I think that sometimes people in their head have a feeling and a knowing that they can trust life and they have a joyful cosmology, but there is still a habit that has been inherited by our culture or our families of micromanaging and controlling things about our lives. And in many ways, that the work that we do and what I encourage people to do is to break the addiction to needing to control that and thinking that it's even necessary in the first place.
Hmm.
Which brings an even greater purpose and awareness to New Day Tomorrow.
Yes. Well, I feel complete.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel complete?
I do.
Okay. Okay. Good. We did a meditation. We had fun. We talked about fun
Yeah.
and having fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, okay. So if you find this video after New Year's, just know that we still love you. And to learn more about us, you can go to lifeintheheart.org. Lifeintheheart.org. I'll put the link in the description. And one of mine and Laura's desires, check that out. Not goals, not intentions. One of the things that we really want to do this year is show up for regular meetings with Life in the Heart. This means what we've got planned is 6 days a week. On Tuesdays, I'll be doing conversations on the Tao Te Ching and Taoism. On Wednesdays, Laura Rose Gage will be doing meditation, talks about meditation and emotional freedom technique, EFT, and probably all the things that come with that, like havening and TFT and energy EFT and all those other things. Um, and basically, you know what it'll probably is just nervous system regulation and vagal
Yeah.
reset and all this kind of
We end
stuff,
up in
right?
that
So it's really
section.
just
Yeah.
like, open focus. Probably talk a lot about open focus because it's a conversation about um, nervous system regulation and meditation. And yeah, anyway, I'm talking up your Wednesdays. That sounds really fun.
No,
Thursdays.
it's tomorrow.
Yes, great. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. It's 11:22. So, um, the Thursdays conversations about any of my books. So, Trusting Your Foundation. Ooh, was that a spoiler? Anyway, Trusting Your Foundation, um, or an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg. Okay. Uh, Fridays is Back to You, Laura, which is conversations about poetry and specifically, most likely, mystical poetry. We'll be talking about. You'll probably be talking about a lot of Mary Oliver, a lot of Rumi, save some Hafez for me,
Mhm.
and Rilke, um, other weirdos who write about God, life, love, the universe, and everything in it. Saturdays is Laura doing Stories Anonymous. Do you want to tell us about Stories Anonymous?
Stories Anonymous. Stories Anonymous is my version of a 12-step program that has a different cosmology. I think a more supportive cosmology. It
Hmm.
is a grand experiment that I'm going on right now. And
Right.
it's an experiment in exploring the idea that our stories can either limit us or liberate us. And so we're joining together there to work through that process of deliberate story creation.
Yeah. 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 That's what I sometimes call cosmology in practice,
Mhm.
um, which we've kind of alluded to today. Like how important in this conversation we've alluded to how important it is to um, situate yourself in the world how you want to be situated in the world, and really asking yourself, like, what would that look like if it was how, if what I believed about the nature of the world was the way I wanted it to be. Anyway, it's a big topic. It's a big topic, but and Sundays is back to me, which is Gospel of Thomas, and we just talk about the Gospel of Thomas because I've been reading the Gospel of Thomas since 2012. I've been reading Thomas since 2012, and then Mondays are off. So that is our desire, is to show up for you, and we will be streaming those live and having a good time talking to people about what it is we love to talk about. Um, Aho. Amen. Amen. So be it. Yeah.
Mhm. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love you. And I love everyone listening to this. And we will be in touch. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.